You're listening to the Afterbuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The Afterbuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Afterbuzz at the Movies.
Fitting.
Totally works.
I like this.
Totally works.
Hey, everybody. Bing is for doing, and what are we doing? We're doing Afterbuzz TV at the Movies, here to review the new Sylvester Stallone film, Bullet to the Head. My name is John Campea. I'm actually the editor-in-chief over at AMC Theaters, AMC Movie News, and I'll let everybody around the table introduce themselves. Why don't we start here with Chris Lee?
Hey guys, what's up? Chris Lee Kennedy.
Thaddeus Massey.
And I am Dan Devey from thecinemassource.com.
And we are here once again to talk about the new Stallone film, Bullet to the Head. But I want to give you guys a little bit of warning. Like all the other shows on AfterBuzz TV, we make a really wild assumption that you've seen what we're about to talk about. So we're going to make the assumption that you have seen Bullet to the Head. If you have not, or if you're somebody who's really sensitive about spoilers, you may not want to watch this because we are going to...
Spoiler alert!
I love that.
Spoiler alert!
The Star Trek Red Alert. I love it.
Thanks, Martin.
Fantastic.
We are going to talk about details in the film in some depth here. And let's get started by just giving our general impressions of the film without giving your score yet. Let's just start with some brief general impressions of the film. Dan, let's start with you.
Should we start with me or should we start on an up note? I think we should maybe start on an up note with Chris Lee. Because I think you might be the only one to say this.
wow.
I think I might be.
All right, Chris Lee, let's go with you then.
Totally enjoyed the film. Totally loved it for what the film is, for what it's supposed to be. I liked it. I thought there were funny lines. I thought the fight scenes were amazing. I thought Stallone showed he still got it. I liked it.
All right, Dan?
You know what? Everything you said, except the opposite, is kind of what I thought of this. I mean, Bullet to the Head, I think I would have preferred an actual bullet to the head.
Exactly.
This was just, yeah.
I mean, for me, I really had to get myself in character from when I was like a kid.
I put myself in character.
Like kid character, like when I used to watch Stallone as a kid and watch all his Rocky films and his Rambo films. It's like, oh man, like Cobra, all the old school Stallone. Like I had to put myself in that space to enjoy this.
Right. And as for me, once again, the correct answer is this is a good movie. This is a fun movie, and let's get into it. Let's start with this. Let's start with the Stallone element to start with. First of all, I never cease to be amazed by the physical specimen, this genetic freak that is Sylvester Stallone. This guy looks better now than he did in Rocky IV. I mean, he looks fantastic, and I agree with you completely. In Bullet to the Head, while I have my issues with it, which we'll get to in a little while, I have my issues with it, Stallone still has it.
I agree.
He totally sold me on the tough guy, the one-liners, the performance was great. He actually, you know what? I thought he did the action in this film better than he did the action in the Expendables films. The Expendables films, I always thought when he was running, it would be kind of like old man running. But in this, he was moving well. He looked great.
Yeah.
So sign me up. I'm all for Stallone on this. Dan, what are your thoughts on Stallone?
I think what he has is a blank prescription pad that he's been taking to certain places to get some kind of enhancing things for his body that one day is going to backfire. I mean, he's what, 68? 66.
Maybe 67
He's 66?
now. Maybe 67.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I am all for being healthy. I think that's great.
Wow.
But you shouldn't look like that when you're 66. You're someone...
Sylvester Stallone can.
Well, I know he can, but...
He looks amazing.
Should you? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, yes, for a guy his age, yeah, he looks great. And let me just be clear. This is the same man who wrote and directed Rocky. I mean, I am not, disrespecting him in any way. I think what he's done with his career is amazing. And I think he's a really smart guy, believe it or not. But with this movie, I just feel like you're retreading ground that you've already done so well just to show that, hey, look, I can still do it. And it didn't do it for me. It didn't do it for me. It was like Tango and Cash 30 years later, except
Tango and Cash the later years.
If you remember in Tango and Cash, Terry Hatcher is his sister, who we think is his girlfriend. When Kurt Russell hits on her, turns out no, that was his sister. Same exact situation in Bullet to the Head, except now it's his daughter because it's 20 years later.
I think for me, if they give them the respect that they've already earned and don't play on this "we're old guys" thing, I mean, there really hasn't been anybody to replace him, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Bruce Willis. Those guys still have the swagger that they had when they established their careers, and I think they need to allow them to continue that and not play on this, well, I'm an old guy now and blah, 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 because these guys still have mad swagger. Sylvester Stallone has mad swagger. I thought that the script and the cast and everything surrounding him was weak compared to his presence in the film. Like, they could have put way bigger guys around him. The production could have been way bigger for Sylvester Stallone. He still has a core audience that will still go and watch him in a big film if they see the trailers are big film worthy. It's Sylvester Stallone-esque, not this. He's still trying to. They're pushing this. He's still trying to do it. Tone to a guy who still has it. I mean, he's still bringing it to the. He's still bringing it. Like, to me, everybody else is really not. I'm like, who's this guy? This guy's a supporting guy. This is the guy who's the adversary. I mean, Jason Momoa is actually very menacing.
Well, I got
to give him props.
That's going to be a whole topic.
Right. Definitely. I'm sure you're going to go into that.
Yeah.
But, you know, everything else for me was kind of like he's worth more than some campy old guy trying to come back and still trying to have it thing.
And so wait, you're saying you weren't terrified by the straight-laced Asian officer who he was paired with? Did he not scare you?
It was, and I love that. I can't think of his name right now. Sun Kang. Sun Kang. I think he's great in the Fast and Furious series.
Yes, he is.
I think he's good for that, and he's probably can bring other aspects to other projects. Just this one teamed with Sylvester Stallone, I think he wasn't ready for that.
No, I agree. It wasn't
Yet.
good casting. It wasn't a good fit. But there's a point you raised that I thought was really good. You're talking about Stallone is a guy who can still bring it.
Yes.
When I watched The Last Stand, which I also actually really liked, I had a lot of fun with it. But even though I loved it, I can't believe, looking at Schwarzenegger now, when he's standing opposite a villain or a bad guy who's a big guy, 20 years his junior, I can't buy that Stallone can take, or that Schwarzenegger can take this guy. Like the big end fight in The Last Stand, I don't buy that Schwarzenegger could take that guy.
Right.
Stallone, I can buy he can kick anybody's ass that you put on that screen.
Right.
But you're right about Kang, and you're right about the supporting cast. I thought, I used to love Christian Slater. You know what I still do? I was really sad when that TV show of his, My Own Worst Enemy, when that got canceled. I thought he was really good, but this was bad casting.
Yeah.
It did not fit. It did not work. And yeah, to me, that is one of the biggest issues, was the poor. I don't think you need big stars, but just put the right people around him. And I think you're right. I didn't think they did that.
The thing that I really liked about it was, and it's actually what you didn't like, is Stallone is old. And I think you have to call it like you see it in a movie like this, because people are going to go to this movie and they're going to be like, oh my God, he's old. Can he still do it? Yeah, he can still do it. And not only can he, but they addressed that he was a little bit older.
Right.
They addressed that everyone in the movie second-guessed him and discounted him and said, oh, he's old. He's been doing this for years. He can't do it. And then he still brought it.
Right.
And I liked that they verbally addressed that so that you were real clear that not only did you as a viewer think that he was old, but everybody in the movie thought he was old too, and he still kicked their ass. So, I mean, I agree 100%. The worst part of the movie for me was Taylor Kwan, the character Taylor Kwan. I felt like it could have been a different actor. I think you're right. The casting was just off on that. The rest of the characters didn't bother me as much, but he was the one that really stuck out, where I felt if you're going to put somebody with Stallone, I know you want them to look new and uneasy around him, but they had no chemistry at all.
Yeah.
So to see them work together was the toughest part of the film for me.
And I don't blame Kang for that. Like,
no.
For a sports analogy here, look, a coach's job is to take an athlete and put the athlete in the best possible position to give them the greatest chance to succeed. And by putting Kang in this particular role, that was not putting him in a position that he could succeed.
Right.
He wasn't going to work, and that's not a knock on his talent or his ability. That wasn't the right role for him. So, and look, I'll bring this up too, and I'm sure you're going to jump all over this. The other big weakness, and this sounds really strange considering I'm saying I really like the film, the other big weakness of this film is the terrible script and story.
Minor points. Minor
I know
points.
it sounds absolutely ridiculous to say that, and that I really liked the movie, but I'll get to reasons why I liked it a little bit later. But no, it was a weak. It had huge gaping plot holes
Yes.
all the way through. You had to wonder why do I believe that this guy's motivation is this?
Right.
Like it just made no sense half the time.
Yeah.
Like just Jason Momoa is pissed off that Stallone killed a bunch of his guys, but they don't address. But your guys got killed because they were there to kill Stallone. Like it's not like he's acting as if he was wronged when he was not wrong. Like it's like lazy screenwriting to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt. But I don't know how you felt about it.
And how about the fact that the daughter is suddenly in love with Kang's character at the end? I'm gonna stay with him.
I didn't find
Why?
that love.
He said 5
you
words
know why?
to you.
You know why? Because she's so hot, she can do whatever she wants.
And
Well, I mean, it's
I
what
see what-
had to happen in the story.
I
Like
didn't
she had
see
to
her
choose
in love with him. I didn't see her in love with him. I just felt like she looked at her dad and was like, "You're." I can't say it
PC,
because we're on Afterbuzz. I can't say it. I think that she was like, really? I can't believe you did this. This guy helped you. I didn't see love there. I saw him kind of wanting her, but who doesn't? I mean, it's,
But then at the end, he talks about how, oh yeah, we've spent time together
But
and
fair enough.
we're dating
that was
now.
talk.
And it's like,
Fair enough, that was talk.
and I think that was a setup
Yeah.
for a bullet to the head too.
yeah.
Just saying. I mean, complete setup for the next movie.
All right, let's move on to this, which I think is actually, look, Stallone, I think was magnificent in this, that he can still bring it, blah, 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 blah. You mentioned that nobody's really come along since Stallone
Right.
and Schwarzenegger. I believe two in like 20 years. I believe The Rock and I believe Jason Statham are legit action stars.
And Vin Diesel.
Sometimes Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel's a man.
Sometimes
It's in
Vin
his
Diesel.
name. Diesel.
Diesel.
Hello.
Vin Diesel's carved out his own niche. You got to throw him in there.
But really, look, I am completely 100% all in on Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
I'm
Totally.
in. You
Yeah.
know what? Say what you want about Conan, his version of Conan, and all the positives, or really more accurately, the negatives about the latest Conan film. Momoa did almost the impossible. He stepped into a hyper iconic role.
Yes.
And somehow he made it his own. There was such a huge potential of stepping in there and looking like you were just pulling off a bad Arnold Schwarzenegger imitation
Right.
or an Arnold Warrenby. Somehow he stepped in, called himself Conan, and recreated the character to be his own. And I bought him on that. I bought him in Game of Thrones. I bought him in Stargate Atlantis. I never had the pleasure of watching him in Baywatch.
Exactly.
So I'm a little behind the curve on that.
I did. I watched
How
him in
did I
Baywatch.
miss this?
Yeah, that's when he had shorter hair. He was clean cut. He was just the golden boy. Like,
Oh, I wouldn't have liked him then.
totally
no,
different.
girls loved him. I mean, that's when he stepped on the scene. I used to love Baywatch, but it was actually Baywatch Hawaii, like the last segment of Baywatch. You know, Baywatch is like what the most watched TV show of all time, or
Yeah.
something like that, worldwide.
Hercules, the legend continues, or the ongoing, whatever that Hercules show was.
Was one okay?
Overtook Baywatch.
Did it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Jason Momoa actually has shown that this dude, he really has chops because he was really seen as this pretty boy. And he has really broken that mold as far as performance is concerned. You're really not looking at him like, I mean, he's really brought performance to the screen. So now you're looking at him like, this guy can act.
Yeah.
He's also, I think, one of the most committed actors. Did you know he actually broke his nose to do Conan? Before he went in, he said to a buddy, "Punch me in the face." Like, literally, like the guy just hauled off, punched him in the face, and broke his nose. So I was talking to, I said, "You realize they have makeup people for that, right?" And he was like, "No, I wanted to really be in it. You know, I feel like this is what he would have gone through, stuff like this." So if you look at the poster, his nose is all sorts of messed up, and it's not makeup. That dude is committed.
Yeah.
He was badass in this film, like from the get-go, from
Yeah.
the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
The fight scene between him and Stallone was a great fight scene. Both of them were amazing. The way they shot it was great with the shaky camera, the whole nine. But the thing that I really liked about him in this movie was that he said more with his eyes than his lines.
I'm glad you said that.
And that's a hard thing that a lot of actors can't do. And
Yeah.
you see it time and time again where you're trying to be this tough guy and you're trying to portray this with your face, but you don't have lines. And he nailed it.
yeah, he
nailed
was
it.
completely menacing. Like when he looked at a guy, just, I can't do it. But It was like you're absolutely terrible. And when you see those fight scenes, that ain't no stunt double.
No.
That is him doing all that stuff. Look, let's run down the laundry list. He's huge and physically intimidating.
Yeah.
He's got acting chops.
Yeah.
He's got action skills.
Right.
And on top of all of that, the best way I can put it is like this. I was at the Conan premiere, red carpet, and we went to the after party. My wife's with me. And we're standing in line for the food, and Jason Momoa's right there. And he accidentally nudged into my wife and said, "Oh, excuse me," and grabbed what he was going and walked away. And she looks at me and she goes, "I have to go now and change my underwear." And so that he brings a sex appeal to the action star thing that Stallone never had, that Schwarzenegger never had.
Right.
That well, The Rock's got it, but I mean, Statham, he's got it.
He has it.
He has it.
Oh, he has it.
But this guy, I mean,
Okay, calm down, Chris. Calm down.
seeing women's reaction to Jason Momoa.
Do you need to change something? Are you all right over there?
You know what?
I know, right?
I've never done this in a movie, and I had to look him up on IMDb during the movie last night. The first time he came on screen, and I've never done that during a movie where I was like, "Who are you, and why don't I know you?" Like he not only was he great in the film, but he is not hard to look at.
No, and he's got like that laundry list. He's got it all. And look, Bullet to the Head made $4.5 million in its opening weekend, which is a shame. It deserved more than that. It didn't deserve 25 or anything like that. So this will not be the movie that launches Jason Momoa because nobody saw it. But I hope enough people see it, particularly in the studio system, to know we can give this guy an action vehicle. We can give him an action feature vehicle and let him run with it, and he will be able to carry it. Because he's got about 15 years still ahead of him that he could be that legit action star. And personally, I hope we see him do it.
Hey, I think he will. And for me, I believe that his performance actually exposed how weak everything else was.
That's a good point.
Because
a good
his
point.
performance was that good, and it just actually showed the plot points and the script writing was just that weak because of some of the choices, or not necessarily the choices, but the writing and some of the things the character would have done based on his intelligence level. Like, who's the bad guy? His name is Adewale. I don't know. I can't remember his last name.
Or something like that.
Yeah, he's been on a bunch of stuff too. I remember him from Lost. Yeah, from Lost. But that character, I believe, based on the performance that Jason Momoa gave, would have received a lot more respect from that other character.
Agree. Bad script again. Bad storytelling.
He's showing, he's just completely disrespecting this guy. And then based on his performance, you can tell this guy is intelligent. He's not just some hired gun.
Right.
He wasn't treated with the respect that he should have. I mean, he ends up, doing the guy anyway. But it would, I think, have been done way earlier than
maybe
in the manner in which it was done.
Yeah.
Right.
To me.
That was actually one of the things that I did like about the film is that it didn't come down to, him being, for the boss and working for the boss, that he actually kills the boss, takes him out, and it becomes about the main henchman now against Stallone at the end.
Yeah.
That usually doesn't happen. Usually they come up with some way, like, he doesn't, his right-hand man doesn't turn on him at the end.
No.
The bad guy doesn't usually have to deal with that. So I like that was different.
Right.
And I also really enjoyed every car scene with Stallone and Kang together. That
was good.
Those, for me, were the highlights for the movie because
Funny.
you could tell so much of that was just Stallone ad-libbing, just improving, and it was funny.
And I've also heard, and John, you'll probably know the answer to this, I've also heard that Stallone actually rewrote a lot of the script in certain parts, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I would think that those are the exact moments that we're talking about that he rewrote, was the moments in the car with the jokes back and forth.
The good moments.
There were other good moments.
Dan the man.
There were other good moments. The action was good. The fights were good, but that was a great part, was just the back and forth between them. There were so many great lines in the movie that were just funny to me, that guns don't kill people, bullets kill people, and what are we doing? Are we getting married? There was just back and forth between the two of them was kind of hysterical.
How many people can deliver a line like that, though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not many.
How many people can deliver a line like that and it be believable, not cheesy, not corny, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
He's about to do this. He's going to do it again.
I forgot it already again,
Guns
and you'll
don't kill
remember
people.
it. The last line in his opening monologue.
Right. Sometimes you sacrifice your principles to do what's right.
That was my favorite line in the movie. For some reason, that was my favorite line in the movie because
Which one?
sometimes you have to give up your principles to do what's right.
Right.
Because I felt like that was what the entire movie was about. Like, he's this badass guy that's supposed to do nothing but kill people, but at the end of the day, he really does want to do what's right. Even though he's killing people for the wrong, he's trying to make it right. And I thought that was just, I don't know.
I like what you said.
I mean, it is clearly a message movie.
It was.
Let's be honest about
I
that.
like what you said about, though, how many guys can deliver that. I swear, Stallone in that
He is so
character
good.
and that voice can look at the camera and say, I'm wearing pretty panties. And it sounds manly.
Yeah.
And it sounds manly.
And I'm like, I'm going to buy some panties. Victoria's Secret, here I come.
Okay, but let's call a spade a spade. As we start the wrap up here, let's call a spade a spade. Bullet to the Head is not meant to be Shakespeare. It's not meant to be Lincoln. It's not meant to be, look, there's a few key elements you have to give in order for Bullet to the Head to reach its potential. Have Stallone looking great and acting really cool. Have that swagger. Give him a daughter or a wife that he loves a lot, that you know if the bad guy messes with her, he's going to be pissed. They did that. Check. Have some great action scenes. Check. Have him give some great cheesy but manly sounding one-liners. Check. Have a good bad guy for him to fight. Check. You meet those criteria, to me, in a Stallone movie, everything else becomes forgivable, and that's why this is a good movie. This is a fun movie that I might even go see again, damn it.
Oh, my God.
How about you, Dan? Wrap it up. What do you think?
Crazy.
Rate it. What's your
Oh,
stars?
yeah, give your star. Give your out of 5.
Okay.
Sorry.
Before Dan does that, I want to give a special shout out to Christian Slater because
Oh yeah.
Poor
I
guy.
loved seeing him and I loved his performance. You know, you don't see him a lot anymore, and I think he did a really good job for what he brought to his character. I just was like, I love it. It's Christian Slater, like, dude.
So
It's
sleazy.
Christian Slater.
He was so sleazy.
But he played that character to the T.
Yeah.
He was acting his butt off. He did it. I'm like, dude, you guys gotta cast. Studio system. Put Christian Slater in more films, please. Put him on TV, something. I grew up on this guy. He's a good actor, and he does his thing better. No one does his thing better than him. Nobody.
Except for Jack Nicholson. But actually, that brings up my favorite part of the experience of seeing Bullet to the Head was after the movie was over in the men's room, overhearing a conversation where one guy said, "Well, at least we got to see Christian Slater get killed." So
And he went out. He went out great.
Yeah, he did.
That's actually one of my favorite scenes.
That was a great scene.
That was a great
That was a really good scene.
Yeah, it was really good.
But yeah, I mean, overall, for this type of movie, for an action film, yes, it had all those things. It met all those, the checklist. I guess maybe because I have respect for a lot of things that Stallone has done in the past, I expect a little bit more. I feel like this was, the running time was so short because there was really, they just hit the checklist and then they were done.
Right,
So there was
yeah.
there was very little behind the movie itself. The action scenes, yes, great. Stallone looked great. I still think it's completely artificial and it's going to backfire, but like I get that, and yeah, so I'm going to give it a 2.
That is.
Damn. I'll give it a 3.5.
3.5.
I'll give it a 3.5 just because it was Stallone. I like the menacing character played by Jason Momoa. Everything else was kind of predictable and expected.
Sure.
So you kind of know what you're getting into when you go see it. It would have been an amazing straight to DVD movie.
Chris Lee.
Yes.
Amazing.
There you go.
Amazing.
That's it right there. Oh my God.
I go 4 stars. As an entire movie, as an experience, I go 4 stars. It was enjoyable. It was fun. I was at the edge of my seat.
Jason
I
Momoa.
love it.
Jason Momoa.
No.
Jason Momoa.
I'll
give him 4 stars. No problem.
I'll give him
Stallone.
5. I like
right.
Stallone better than Momoa. I think Stallone was better than Momoa. But I think as a whole, I thought the movie was great. Yes, there were some parts that weren't great in the story, but as a whole, it was enjoyable. It was exciting. People died. Stuff blew up. My stepfather would be so proud. 4 stars.
I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna go with Thaddeus on this. I'm gonna go 3.5. A very solid 3.5. It's enjoyable. Yes, it has all the weaknesses. It's not a great motion picture experience, but it has everything I was wanting in a Stallone movie, and it delivered it quite well. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Well, you guys, while we're rating things, I have a job for you. Because you haven't seen this movie, but I want you guys to go to iTunes. I want you to go under, click. I want you to comment. I want you to comment. And I want you to rate on our movies and tell us what you like, what you don't like. We want 4 stars on iTunes. So don't listen to any of these people that gave less than 4 stars, because we want your stars on iTunes. It helps us bring you shows for free. It keeps our lights on, and it keeps everybody happy. I want everyone to tell the fans where they can find you.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at John Campea.
Boys?
You can find me by going to thecinemassource.com. Don't forget the. Don't go to CinemaSource. Go to thecinemassource.com.
And you can find me on Twitter at Club Thaddeus, CLUBTHADDEUS.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Lee. Thank you guys for joining us at AfterBuzz TV for our movie edition, which we will now be bringing you hopefully weekly. So make sure you catch up. Go see the movies. Tell us what you think, and we'll see you next time.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.